good luck when you get home.
Well, thank you. I'm not sure what I'm headed home to.
Yeah. Hey, Nathan, how are you? Good, how are you? I'm fine. Just having fun when I get to see the grandkids.
I do know.
That part. You should keep your income. Clients, and one of them wrote to me the other day, and a contract I had signed on to, they canceled USC to Southern California, and they're going like 30% what I had in my income. So I was scrambling. I don't know. Yeah. You know, here's the weird thing. I've been actually living together this way since late 2013. And every time I'm like, I can't believe how bad this is going, something comes along. You know? Yeah. I mean, it's like you should have FaceTime. Because seriously, every time I'm like, every time I'm thinking like, I cannot believe this, I'm just gonna have to throw myself in front of the train. And I'm like, nope, something's wrong. The first time it happened, I was in Oregon, and we lived on the coast with a bunch of dead zones in the phone coverage. And I lost one of my gigs because this company, Englewood, so we went to up in the Tillamook State Forest and spent the day up there just like chilling out in one of the and meanwhile, this lady whom I never met was trying to call me again and again, and I picked up the phone and I go, 10 calls from this lady. Yeah. I would give this much of a text now. You do writing and editing, yeah. If it has to do with words, that's where I get everything. Yeah, everybody who has a spell check thinks they're an editor.
Hola. Oh, yeah? Long day? Mm-hmm. Long day on a holiday week?
the neighbor that I can be a bit more frank with, so.
Be that frank with me, it made me laugh.
The picture deserves that, I assure you. The picture, I'm sure you guys have seen it too on this. It's pretty bad.
I do believe it.
Who's praying? Him? Chop, chop, Mayor. Get it together.
She's got it.
Okay.
Unless Dave wants to.
Want to pray?
I'm gonna pass on it.
You sure about that?
I might be struck by lightning for your flat.
Nice.
My
Perfect.
son,
That's awesome.
it's not expected. Still the same. Yeah. I mean, or Mayor Pro Tem is? Has anybody seen Mayor Pro Tem? Here she comes. Welcome, everyone, to the City Council regular meeting, Monday, July 1st, 2019. Would you please stand for the invocation led by Member Barentine and then Pledge of Allegiance if you're able.
Almighty God, we admire the work of your hands and the power expressed in your world. We accept the task before us, and we are mindful of your wisdom. Please grant us the time to enjoy our work and guide us in this time together. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The clerk, please take the roll.
Yes, ma'am. Member Sierra,
Present.
Member Barentine,
Present.
Member Cuesta,
Present.
Member Martinez, Mayor Pro Tem Russell,
Present.
Member Wink,
Present.
Mayor Olson.
Present.
6 members present, 1 absent, the 1 absent being Councilmember Martinez.
Thank you. Agenda item 5 is consideration of minutes of previous session, the minutes of the regular City Council meeting of June 24th, 2018. 2019, so it's a misprint in the actual agenda, and I reread it. So could I have a motion to approve the minutes from June 24th, 2019?
I move to approve the City Council regular meeting minutes from June 24th, 2019.
Thank you, and could I have a second?
I second.
Okay, Mr. Sierra, any corrections, any problems? Seeing none, please vote.
Actually, I do have a correction.
Oh, okay.
Did my light show up on your end?
Yep, it did. My laptop's in the way.
So I do want to make a change. It looks like the vote was misstated on the document. It's under 11B1, Park Rules and Regulations, the three, let's see here. The very first portion of it where it was motion to amend, the 3-4 votes were Mayor Pro Tem Russell, Member Barentine, and Member Cuesta.
You're right.
And it has Member Wink as one of the 4 votes, and I believe that's incorrect.
Yes, noted. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for noting that. Any others? Thank you for the correction. So it would be approving this as amended with the addition of the switching of the names or adding one. Please vote.
All votes have been cast. Let the record show 6 ayes.
Thank you. Agenda item 6 is recognition of scheduled public comment. The deadline to sign up to speak for scheduled public comment is Wednesday by 5 p.m. prior to the meeting through the city clerk's office. Only those who meet the deadline can speak in this section. This is an opportunity for the public to address council, and there is an expectation that the presentation will be conducted in a respectful manner. Council may ask questions for clarification, but there will not be any dialogue. Please limit your presentation to 5 minutes. Written material for presentation to council can be submitted to the city clerk as the speaker approaches the podium, and a USB port is available for public presentation. So first up tonight is Mr. Nathan Hoag, an Englewood resident who will address council regarding an update of the South Platte River cleanup. Thank you, Mr. Hoag.
Good evening, council. My name is Nathan Hoag. I live at 3198 South Bannock Street. After I give this report and some suggestions, I'm happy to entertain any questions. I do apologize. I'm going to have to leave almost immediately after this in order to help take care of the children. So I'll get to it. I lead a church in Englewood called the Sacred Grace, and I have the privilege of serving on and representing Change the Trend tonight. Change the Trend is a network of agencies in and around Englewood that provide resources for those experiencing homelessness, among others. CTT also exists to help educate the public on issues related to homelessness so that our community can be better informed and more effective. Since our inception 2 years ago, CTT has grown and expanded and now includes mental health resources, food and clothing resources, day shelters, job training, our police department, spiritual organizations, and our local government. Change the Trend has also hosted several public forums to help educate the community. Change the Trend was very involved in the work that our police department did on the Platte River at the beginning of June, and tonight I want to give a quick update on that and talk about a preferred way forward beyond that. On May 21st, EPD began posting and announcing that there would be a cleanup of the riverbanks coming in early June, and then people would need to vacate the area at that time or ideally beforehand. In total, 48 camps were documented, and individuals from most of these camps were contacted in person and given resources. These resources included socks, blankets, hygiene kits, Cafe 180 coupons, and water. An estimated 70 individual contacts were made. 58 of those contacted scheduled follow-ups with All Health Network. The majority of contacts were either aware of All Health Network or did not want any assistance or stated they were already in the system and utilizing aid. On June 4th, the scheduled cleanup started at approximately 8 a.m. EPD officers, DPD officers, Denver co-responders, All Health co-responders, Boo Crosby from Cafe 180, Mark McIntosh of A Stronger Chord, Mike Sangren of Wellspring, among others, were instrumental in making the event a success, and CTT's participation in this process was also an important role. In addition to CTT's involvement, the EPD co-responders were instrumental and invaluable in this effort. The EPD co-responder program helps people connect to mental health resources and substance abuse help, in addition to what the law enforcement can offer. Homelessness is almost never a single issue situation and requires multiple and simultaneous points of aid in order to overcome. The co-responders who work with EPD have been invaluable in helping people get connected with these resources that go beyond the purview of law enforcement. This has been an important investment by our city, and I strongly encourage our city to continue to invest in this program. Although the encampments along the banks of the South Platte River in Englewood are cleared out and many of our homeless neighbors were connected to valuable resources in the process, we are still a far cry from a feasible system or solution that cares for our homeless citizens in the long run. The work our police did last month along the Platte was an appropriate and measured reaction to a major challenge that our city faces. And yet, we do not currently have a strong, proactive approach to homelessness in Englewood. We need to turn a corner from being reactive to being proactive concerning homelessness in Englewood. We will remain unable to construct a comprehensive and proactive plan aside from detailed and accurate data on the issue in our city and in the surrounding area. CTT, EPD, All Health, and others are very limited in our efficacy unless there is an in-depth study done in Englewood and the surrounding area to better understand the challenges that we are facing. A lot of information that we currently have is anecdotal and educated hypotheses. Again, these are fine, and we want to remain reactive, if we want to remain reactive to these situations, but they will not allow us to become proactive. A proactive city that cares for people in every stage of life and helps them move forward towards self-sustainability. An in-depth study of homelessness in Englewood and the surrounding area is the best way to begin to accomplish this. Thank you for your time. Please let me know if there's anything I can clarify for you.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem has a question for you.
Do you have any idea where those 70 people went after that day?
It was actually quite a bit more than 70 people. 70 people were the number of people that they actually made face-to-face contact with. I think in total it was quite a bit more. I heard closer to 200 people in all.
There were 200 people on the river?
That was a number that I heard from someone from the police, from the impact team from the police department. I don't know if that's an accurate count.
Okay, thank you.
But it was more than 70, and they're essentially dispersed all over the city and beyond. So new encampments have shown up in other places. We've definitely seen more, the church that I lead is kind of right off of Broadway. We've definitely seen more of our homeless neighbors coming in and interacting with us. I'm at Cafe 180 a couple of times a week. There's more people there. Giving Heart has seen an increase in people showing up there as well. So there's been an increase in folks being dispersed throughout the city.
Okay, and so has Change the Trend been able to help these people? I mean, I think one of the things that was said back then was that they wanted to help them find shelters. Mm-hmm. Do you know how many of them from that cleanup have been placed in shelters?
I don't know an exact number, but Reed McGrath with the impact team did say last week that it was a very small percentage that did find shelter. There is no really answer to attainable housing in Englewood, and so these are people who went outside of Englewood, maybe up into Denver, to find a shelter that they could stay in. But most of these people just relocated to another area outside.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Member Barentine also has a question.
I appreciate your plug for the study that they want to do, the $175,000, which would take over 8 months, in the 3 cities, and the conversation and concerns that are going on between Littleton, Sheridan, and Englewood regarding that. So we'll see how that pans out, because there seems to be some concern that there already are, it's not anecdotal, that there are a lot of really good information, and maybe the money would be better spent elsewhere. When I read the information about the encampments going on, and I both Saturday and Sunday prior, the weekend prior, I went all along that area with several other people, and I think 200 people is a huge exaggeration for the amount of people. We counted just a little in the high 30s.
Member Barentine, this is a time to ask questions, not to comment yet, but you could do that at the next time around.
Okay. How did you, since we have such a disparity of the number, how were you keeping track?
I did not keep track of that number.
Okay. Was there any performance thing between the police department or anybody that was going ahead and making any kind of assessment of where these people were going or what was happening to them?
Yes, there was conversation around that. I don't have those exact numbers. I'm sure the police department does have those numbers. I wanted to give a general overview tonight without getting into all of the specifics. So I can try to find out that number. I can bring that to you if that would be helpful. The numbers that I did want to bring are the number of people that had a face-to-face contact prior to the actual eviction that took place.
Correct, and you said that there were about 78 of them, and more than 50 of them already were in the system. The vast majority of them are already in the system, or they already understand what services are there, and they were still they were still there.
Yes,
Part of
'cause the services weren't
Councilmember-
housing related, the services were mental health related.
Okay, oh, okay, thank you.
That was
for
with All Health Network.
clarification.
Another question?
When the article said about their belongings, that there was a process being done to store their belongings for them, where are the belongings being stored and who's accountable for that and paying for that?
The police department is accountable for that. I don't know who's paying for it, and I don't know the exact location.
Perhaps this could be a council request to ask for the city to have,
Yeah,
present
I
a
would like a
report.
little bit more information, because I am concerned that if people entrusted us with their possessions, and I want to know that we're able to get them back to them. That's part of what the ACLU had a problem with, so I just want to know how we accounted for that. So if you could make that a council request, that would be very important.
I think we have that information, that's
Yes,
great.
that should be an easy one to answer.
That's all I had. Thank you very much
Thank you,
for
and
the
thank you
work
for your time.
did.
Is the study 175,000 or 105,000?
It's
you're-
Oh,
105,000 as
Okay.
far as I know.
Yeah,
make sure.
I
Thank you.
apologize. I believe I misstated that. It's.
All right,
had
anyone
another-
else? Thank you very much. The next person is Mr. Doug Cohn.
Good evening. I'm going to share a movie with you tonight, the movie based on one of my earliest talks. I had originally shared the story in December of 2015. I've been telling these stories to share the incredible parts of the history of Englewood. My goal is to inspire everyone to reach past their comfort zone and try new things and do things they have not done before like our forefathers did. I share them to inspire people to help others. I share them so our residents can find out about our unique history and feel proud of the place they live. I hope you don't get bored with these stories. Chris Hargath, the communications manager, saw an opportunity to take the stories to a much wider audience, creating a series of short movies that will be posted on the city website, YouTube, and Facebook. He's been collaborating with the Englewood Historic Preservation Society to get the stories and the background details and even some actors. The series is called Englewood, Moments in History. This is the first one. It's been out about 2 weeks, been viewed 4,300 times, and shared about 100 times, and it even made its way to Norway. And I got an email from Pueblo, the Historic Preservation Commission in Pueblo, is wanting to figure out something like this to do, to feature their history. Moments in History.
The City of Englewood presents Englewood Moments in History. It was July 31st, 1858, when the area now known as the City of Englewood was located in a vast region referred to as the Great American Desert. On that day, an extraordinary event happened at Little Dry Creek that helped shape the American West. In 1850, miner William Green Russell found traces of gold while traveling through Colorado during a prospecting expedition to California. The discovery inspired Russell to return, and on February 17, 1858, he led a group of 8 eager miners westward from their home in Georgia. After rendezvousing with members of the Cherokee tribe in present-day Oklahoma, the group continued west and their numbers swelled to more than 100. After 4 long months of exhausting travel, the band of gold-hungry prospectors arrived on the banks of Cherry Creek, and the treasure hunt commenced. 9 days later, with very little gold in their pockets or pans, most of the original prospecting group returned east and abandoned their dream of striking it rich. Only 13 remained. Persistence paid, and 2 weeks later, $400 worth of gold was discovered in Little Dry Creek, right here in present-day Englewood. Shortly thereafter, a whiskey trader named John Cantrell visited the camp and returned home to Kansas City with a bag filled with gold-bearing dirt. The Kansas City Journal of Commerce trumpeted the news with screaming headlines, and within 6 short months, 40,000 people migrated to the area.
Oh, Lord.
The rest, as they say, is history. That extraordinary day on July 31st, 1858, sparked the gold rush in what would later be known as the Great Western Expansion. And it all started right here in what we now call Englewood, Colorado.
Thank you.
Nicely done.
Cool or what? Part number 2 has been filmed now and is at the editor. It'll come out within a week or two. The story of Tom's Carrot, the father of Englewood and his house over there and his activities. So anyway, that's coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. You have two people that have questions for you. Mayor Pro Tem first.
So my question for you, is there a plaque along Dry Creek where gold was discovered here?
Well, there's one down in Cushing Park by the duck pond.
Okay.
I don't know there's one down by the river. I just never followed it down that far. Well, the river changed course when they put Dartmouth through.
Okay. I just wondered if there was a little plaque that said where it was.
Go to Cushing.
Right by the duck pond in Cushing Park.
All right, thank you.
Member Barentine also has a question.
I don't know if you know that our own Chris Dewis owns the Russell mine up in the
I do know
mountains.
that.
I saw that you silenced us all to make sure we watched the credits there, and I saw that you were on the credits. So we looked back. How did you collaborate with them, and how did the Englewood Historic Preservation Society participate in this?
Well, Chris has watched several of the council meetings and has heard the stories and just thinks that that would be a marvelous way to share the heart of the city with whoever might be interested in finding out about us. And he got to thinking that maybe just talking like I do most Monday nights, there's a bigger audience we could reach with a little movie. And so he contacted me, and we sat down and we have 84 stories we're working on right now.
Excellent.
We can do a whole series on.
Well, thank you. I shared it as soon as I saw it on Facebook. You guys did a beautiful job. Thank
Oh,
you.
it's neat, huh? Well, thank
Thank
you.
you very much. Good
Mayor,
to see you back.
Mayor,
Yes.
if I may, the plan is to have one of these each month. Am I correct? Thank you.
Great. Next up is agenda item 7, which is recognition of unscheduled public comment. The thing that I read early about the purpose of this is still in place. And I will call your name. Please give your name and whether you live in the city or not. The first one up is Greg Hoffman, here to speak about the flood.
Was this a 75-year rain we had today, or 50-year rain, or I don't know.
Could you state your name and whether you live in the city or not, please?
My name is Greg Hoffman. I reside at 4630 South Bannock sometimes. Happen to be there today. Our renter has a nice 2 children. And I'm sitting in the garage. They come out. Starts raining, starts hailing. They come out. Is it going to flood? I look at them. I say, no, I don't think so. Keeps hailing, a little more rain. I go out and look down our alley just for grins. Okay? Most of you have been through our alley, I think. Know our nice little, whatever you want to call that, swampland down there. Was this much water sitting in that pool today? And thank goodness it didn't come into our house, because I didn't have my vacuum or pump to suck it out today. But just thought I'd give you a little enlightenment. But these storms that are 50-year, 100-year, 5-year, 10-year are really like annual storms, not decades or many decades apart. And I really have a hard time understanding why the city does not do anything. Now, I ventured down to Oxford and Santa Fe. There's one car sitting in the bottom of the ditch down there. Well, I guess that's the road. Up to about almost above his windows, it's a Prius. I'm sure it's not going to be working very good anymore because I didn't really see any big sinkholes, but maybe that's underneath all the water that's down there. But really, we need to do something on our drainage here, and I don't think anybody here that pays taxes in this city, we pay plenty, and I don't understand why this city has gone so long with neglect. But I have to sit down now because I'm going to fall down, so I'm going to let my wife finish my minute and have a good day.
Thank you. Next up is Ms. Vicki Hoffman.
Are you going to give me his extra minute?
I think you're given 3, but we'll take it as you go.
Oh, thank you. Vicki Hoffman, 4630 South Bannock, and I'm a taxpayer. Doesn't matter if I live here or not. I'm here more in Englewood than I am in Centennial. 6 months ago, Member Wink, you asked for solutions from me. I have provided many, all of which have been ignored by the Public Works Director, DeAndrea, a director who stated the culvert in the Acoma-Bannock Alley wasn't the city's. Why was a meeting never held for the flood victims? Why do you choose to ignore us? A meeting that should have been held a year ago, yet here we are with a council who can't seem to do anything for the flood victims, let alone acknowledge our presence and difficulties. It seems as though most of council has failed to understand the human aspect of this tragedy. On the Calibre study, quote, for homes in the deepest inundation, the most cost-effective floodproofing methods are unadvisable, and only raising the home above the inundation level would provide adequate protection, unquote. Well, let's talk about this article I found from 1973 that has to do with Englewood. Other projects developing. With more monies available, the council authorized design of storm drainage facilities in the South Englewood area. I didn't give you the map. I'm sure you've seen it. And in several smaller basins where severe flooding exists. In area number 1, 4 houses and some undeveloped land will be purchased. Be purchased, people. Did you hear that? In order to provide a detention pond so that the size of the outfall line can be decreased. In area number 2, that's us, 20 houses will be purchased in order to provide a drainage channel in Greenbelt Park. The decision to open up the old natural channel was based on the fact that the channel was well-defined and pipe would not keep the buildings from being flooded during heavy rainfall. Today, Mayor Pro Tem, I'd really like to thank you. You're the only one, and Lorette and Councilmember Barentine and Dave Cuesta answered me. Rita Russell was out there today. The other 2 of you, 3 of you never acknowledge. And if you need a new picture, Council Sierra, for your Facebook, I have a new lake picture that I found unobtrusively very appalling on your Facebook. What is it going to take? How can you live with yourselves? Pro Tem Russell can tell you what my neighbor was like today. My feet are dirty, I'm freezing, I'm full of mud, I haven't eaten. I call 911 because that's what I was instructed to do. You know what happened? I was told by the 911 dispatch, we can't come out and help you for a flood. I've invited y'all to come to our alley before when it's one of these rains, have you? No. You make me, you should be ashamed of yourselves. You don't care. You do not care. You don't care I've not eaten. You don't care that I've been driving since 3:30 and that, our tenant, kids are horrified. People are horrified in that area. You go home and sleep well tonight, people.
Thank you. Are there questions? Seeing none. Thank you. The next person up is Ms. Marcy Brown. Here to speak about development.
Hi, everyone. I didn't even know there was a council meeting tonight, so I haven't really prepared much. But I did want to show you something. It was a plaque. And this plaque says, "Congratulations, Proud Property Program, 1993. Outstanding residential property." And then it has my mother's name here. And it says, "Thank you for helping Englewood keep clean, green, and proud." And it's signed by the mayor. Englewood used to be a nicer place to live. They used to do nice things for their citizens like this. My mother was so proud of this plaque. Do you do this anymore? Do you do anything nice for your citizens anymore like this? Especially in District 1. So when it says clean, you think development is clean, Councilman, in District 1? Think we have a clean environment when we breathe in that stuff in the air that you are so pro-development on? How about the green? Taking away our lawns.
Please direct your questions to all of us, please.
Okay. And how about proud? I've canvassed my neighborhoods, and I can tell you, people aren't so proud to be Englewood citizens anymore. And one of the questions I get is, how is this development helping us as citizens? And who is benefiting it from this? Because they say it's not only the developers who are benefiting, somebody else has got to be benefiting from this, because they're having all kinds of problems, whether it's drainage, a host of problems. And I don't see why we cannot do a moratorium, at least until Mr. Lewis comes on board, to stop building until he can assess what is going on in this city. We have so many apartment buildings. Look at the big apartment building we have on Kenyon and Broadway. Look at the ones all across from Safeway. Look at the ones around King Soopers. You go down Aladdy, and that is, head down Dartmouth, go north to Aladdy. It's mind-boggling to me. So I would love to meet Mr. Lewis and tell him all the citizens' concerns that I've personally met. And I think my councilman should do the same and talk to him about if he has canvassed neighborhoods like I have. And I'm just a citizen. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next up is Ms. Jessie Rittinger, here to speak as an observer. Ridinger? Okay. All right. And not here to, you're here, you signed in as an observer. I get it. Okay, great. And then next up is Becky Deal, here to speak about flood.
Hi, it's been a while since I've been here. I've been kept away due to extracurricular activities with my grandson that he does. But I wanted to come again in front of you and let you remind. I'm a flood victim from July 24th last year, Tuesday, 6 p.m. Had 8 inches in my house, 3 feet in my backyard. Well, I'm here to tell you I was almost a flood victim again tonight. Got up to my front doorstep, 15.5 inches, water line on the fence out front. My grandson was freaking out about the rising water again. Thought I was over the crying bit, but obviously not. He was crying and very upset, and all I could do was hold him in my lap and console him, try to, while he just sat there and bawled his eyes out. He's so afraid of, his whole world was disrupted last year. I don't have a basement, just a reminder, so 100% of my living area was affected last year. With the water rising so fast, he was a little upset. The water, I live in a cul-de-sac. The cul-de-sac flooded first. A lot of it came from Radcliffe storage because there was a lot of dirt and dust, and there really wasn't a whole lot coming down the street from the drain. And it was puddling. It was the cul-de-sac was full. About that time, Rotolo crusted over the top it came. Well, here comes the river down Radcliffe again to my house. The water wasn't draining this time because the drains were full. The drainage pipes under the street were full. Now, is that due to the collapse there again on Oxford, 3 times in 3 years now? I've lived in my house 32 years. That's a long time to live in one place. I don't know if anybody else here can say that. But I want to know why in the last 2 years there's been a flooding problem. Not the 30 years ahead of that, they had no flooding problem, just the last couple years. Why is that? A lot of building, no place to catch the water, drains being collapsed in and not fixed properly. I don't know, but there is a problem. Late last week, someone sent me an email, a picture of a letter. The letter had my address on it, saying something about my house was an at-risk house for flooding, and that I might qualify for a grant from the city to help flood-proof my house. I never saw this letter before somebody emailed it to me, and I still have not got one in my mailbox yet. Does the city just print up letters with vital information and don't send them to the people that need them? Because I have yet to get that letter. I did call today. They did call me back, gave my information apparently to the right person. They're supposed to get back to me about the grant, but I never received this letter.
Your time is up, but Member Barentine has a question for you.
What is the date of the original letter that you said somebody gave you recently?
I didn't get the whole thing. I mean, you can certainly take a look at the picture on my phone that I was sent. I don't know if there's a date on it or not, or it's just chopped off.
Okay, thank you. All right, appreciate it.
I have a question. Do you know the person who sent it to you? You can ask them if there's a full letter that they're looking at.
Thank you, I appreciate the answer.
Thank you very much.
Question.
Oh, Member Cuesta and then Member Wink.
Well, it might be a question.
2 more questions if you don't mind. Yeah, Member Cuesta's first.
It might be a question for the senator. I'm curious how, and maybe it's even for city staff, how somebody who is a property owner in the city ended up with somebody else's letter. That sounds strange to me too. You received it from somebody else. So somebody ended up with your letter.
I'm told it's on the website.
Oh,
Thank you.
so it's not with your name on it per se?
No, but it has my
It's a general
physical address on
Okay.
it.
Understood.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Member Wink?
So just a clarification, so you did not receive a letter directly from the city of Englewood?
That's correct.
Okay.
Not to one of my mailbox or anything, no. And it's on the website for everybody else to see.
This was simply something another citizen or a property owner gave you, correct?
Somebody saw my address and sent me that letter.
Okay.
I had never seen it before.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Mr. Jerry Walker, here to speak about the police department.
Jerry Walker, 4180 South Pearl Street, Englewood, Colorado. Going to answer some questions that you had before, such as, where are the homeless? I always have fun with this. Why can't I ever find the folder that I'm looking for on here? Sounds like it's working. I found the homeless. Look, they're on the bike path, heavily camouflaged and sleeping just west of the Safeway and about a block off of Broadway and probably just a few feet off of Hamden. They were really difficult to discover, though, I understand, because they're so well hidden there. So this was at about 6:30 in the morning, and I called the police department, which I guess is what I'm supposed to do when I find a homeless camp in Englewood, and was told by the dispatcher that they were doing a shift change at 6:30 in the morning. Now, that sounds like an interesting time to be doing a shift change, but so she said it would be about 15 minutes before we could get a police officer all the way from Elati over to Hamden and Broadway, and I could have walked it in that time. But sure enough, how do I go to the next picture here? Oh, I see, never mind. So there were about 3 people camped here. That's a good picture. There were about 3 people camped here, sleeping. There were some people still sleeping. I'm afraid I woke them up when I walked by because I was just on my morning walk. But I think I waited actually another 15 minutes after the 15 minutes, and then I tried calling back and was put on an immediate hold as soon as the phone rang, one ring, and then I went on immediate hold. So I figured that. The rest of them, a number of other ones, have rented some storage lockers up near Evans and Federal, and they managed to rent as an introductory price $1 for the first month. I don't know where that's going to lead afterwards, but they're sleeping there in the daytime, and then they go out and walk through the city of Englewood at night. So that's some pretty good intel on that. So that's where our homeless are going. But I'm totally amazed that we have this going on right here on the bike path, and we can't get a police officer out there to do anything about it. Now, I think that we do have a problem with that. We only have one dispatcher. So when I called in, because I didn't have an emergency, I was put on hold, and then came back and had about 2 sentences and was put on hold again, and actually spent a total of 12 minutes on hold just trying to tell them where the homeless people were. So it's a couple of problems we need to take care of in the police department.
Mr. Walker, Member Barentine has a question for you.
Yes, ma'am.
I appreciate you bringing this forward. It's neither safe for them or the community to have this going on, just like the Platte. I appreciate your calling the police. Did the police ever come while you were there?
No, after 12 minutes on the phone and another 30 minutes sitting on a bench waiting for the police to come, the police never came, and I was told that if I couldn't stay there, that the police officer would call me when he got there. Never got a call either.
So you were physically there for 30 minutes, and nobody had called you back?
Right.
All right. And how did you find out about this, Evan, this storage issue with people going in and being in these storage units?
Confidential informant.
Okay. I will certainly go ahead and make sure that we put forward a council request. I think that's very dangerous for them. I don't want to see anybody die, but I'll put the council request in later. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Mr. Aaron Reed, here to speak about flood.
Good evening, Aaron Reed, District 2, Englewood. Let's see. Minimize this. That way people don't get misconstrued that I'm not going to use that. Anyways, today there was rain. I was in the thick of it at my client's house for their fortunate abilities. And my due diligence of reconnecting a gutter because I had it taken apart, but that wouldn't have mattered. Offsite impacts were flooding their backyard, So I took it upon myself to make the amendments to make the drainage go away from what could have been towards their basement, may or may not have happened. I don't need that. My business doesn't cover insurance, be damned. If my client's house floods while I'm working on it, especially when I'm using nothing to do with water. So, anyways, I get back home and might as well take the wrong label off of what I'm trying to demonstrate here. In my bucket in the backyard, which was dry before the start of the day, there was that much water in it. That's not calibrated, I know better. It's not NOAA, it's not scientific, but it's ballpark. For those that can't see, that would be about 5/8 inch tall of fluid. So let's just say today's storm was twice that. Okay, so that's why we had the floods down there by Oxford and so on. Okay, let's say it was half that. Then why did we still have flooding down there? Are we prepared for another sinkhole? Are we prepared for something? Fortunately, no, this was not as bad as last year, but it can't be dismissed. Now, imagine for a moment, we had this much rain, as tall as this cell phone here, in a 2-hour period. This thing is well over 4 inches tall, this phone. All right, what if we had this much rain today? Fact of the matter is we probably had that much, the thickness of it as it is thin, and that's what got us today. So, did our study do us any good? Did our study point us in the right direction? Do we all need to get NOAA certified, calculated for all 13,000 residences? A water gauge meter, and then we can get down to scientific analysis, as some of us do in our engineering and or science backgrounds? Or are we just devoid of common sense? Thank you.
Thank you. See no questions for you. Thank you for coming. That ends our unscheduled public comment time, and this evening, Mayor Pro Tem Russell will be doing council requests from these and any other comments.
I want to thank each and every one of you for coming. I'm thankful that Nathan Hoag came to update us on the status of the South Platte. However, he was unable to answer a lot of our questions, so I do think that we do need to have the police department come and answer some of those questions also. And he did say that the police department is accountable for storing the belongings of the homeless people. So if we can find out where those are being stored and who's taking care of that. Doug, I want to tell you that, I don't know, just a couple of weeks ago, I saw that movie, Englewood Moments in History, on Facebook, and I loved it. And I want to thank you for your hard work, coming here every week and giving us history lessons. And I'm very excited that this is, that these are going to be posted, because I do think it, reaching out farther than just, a handful of us that are here. I mean, sometimes there's more than that. But thank you for your persistence in doing that. And for Greg Hoffman, I want to thank you for coming forward. I want to thank Vicki Hoffman and Aaron Reed in talking, and Becky Deal also, in talking about the flood. And it breaks my heart to go out there and see what's going on in the neighborhoods. And I'm telling you, the interactive map does not fix the problems. And this council needs to have a full report when the water is pouring down like it was today. That interactive map isn't helping a soul. We went up on my husband and I, and Jerry Walker was over there also, on Acoma, and also on Bannock. And then we left there and went down by Rotola Park. The park was totally inundated with water. And by the time we got there, there was still some going over the dam, not a whole lot. And there was one woman there at the park, and I asked, she says, oh, you tell those people down there they don't have to worry about the water. I said, that's not true. I said, the water has gone over the dam over a year ago. And I will tell you, we don't have any idea. We do not have any idea what they're facing. And I'm telling you, they're hopeless. They call, they complain. What does city council do? They don't care. We need to do something about this. And I'm telling you that after the flood a year ago, this council said we want to do something. And we ordered a study. Now the study has come and gone. I believe Caliber is coming again. But this council needs answers, and this council needs to do something before another person dies. The woman that lives on Acoma across the street from where the flood was is terrified that somebody else is going to die. And she said, and then you, council, are sitting there and you have done nothing. You know, I think y'all ought to go visit these people and see the devastation that has been done. So anyway, I want to thank those of you who do come out on a regular basis. And I do believe that this council needs to make a decision sooner rather than later. Marcy, I also want to thank you for coming out and sharing that plaque that your mother was given. I think there are a lot of good things going on in this city, but I do think the development is an issue that we need to address, and this has been brought up about addressing the high-density piece of the comp plan. That is on the schedule, but in the meantime, I hear what you're saying, and I think that this is perhaps something that this council should do also, is consider a moratorium, at least a short-term moratorium. So thank you for bringing that forward. Jerry Walker, I thank you for bringing forward the homeless situation and those questions again. And I do believe that we also need to be discussing that issue and what we're going to do, what the policy is that this city needs to address. So thank you all for coming out, and I am sorry because I know there is great pain out there. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I wanted just to make a comment too. I don't think any of us up here does not have a pang in our heart and worrying about every time it rains, not only in your area, which has been incredibly devastating, but in some other areas too that often go unnoticed. I'm a little surprised. Mayor Pro Tem and I did set the discussion for July 8th, so it's not as if we aren't doing something. She was involved at that decision. That'll be next week, the flood study discussion of Caliber, and I am really looking forward to that because I hope that night we actually do, as a council this time, say we're going to move something forward. Last time I said, let's move forward on the Oxford thing and at least that piece of it so that we could get going on it. And there were some people in the room that were a bit hesitant about that. So I hope that we will, next week, take decision seriously and not grandstanding. So I want to see something happen. It is not at all acceptable to me either that it's a year later. And yet we have to do some data-based decision-making so we make sure that we don't just keep throwing things at this problem. As some of you have brought up before, things that you think were supposed to have been done that weren't done, we got to do it right this time. And it's going to take some time, it's going to take an awful lot of money, and it will take an awful lot of courage for every person on this council to do something to make sure this happens. Councilmember Berentine.
I think we've agreed to just have one person go ahead and give the update, so I don't want to use any flooding as a political football for this. nor to make comments about other council members or whether you think anybody's grandstanding or not. So I just don't think this is a time or place for what we've agreed to, so.
Thank you, Member
very much.
Barentine. We have left it open if something was left out, and I do think something was left out. The July 8th, I hope to see you at the study session. Next up is Agenda Item 8, Communications, Proclamations, and Appointments. A resolution appointing the Board of Commission members. Could I have a motion to approve 8A?
Move to approve agenda item 8A.
Could I have a second?
I second.
All right, discussion, questions? Seeing none, please vote to approve the resolution of the Board and Commission members.
All votes have been cast. Let the record show 5 ayes and 1 nay, the 1 nay being Mayor Pro Tem Russell.
Thank you. Next up is Agenda Item 9, Consent Agenda Items. Could I have a motion to approve 9C1?
I move to approve 9C1.
Could I have a second?
Second.
All right. Please vote.
All votes have been cast. Let the record show 6 ayes.
There is no public hearing tonight, so we go on to Agenda 11, 11C1, one of our resolutions and motions. This is an award of concrete. Did I get all of them? No, yes. All right. An award of contract to Cohn Concrete Incorporated for the 2019 concrete repair installation and pedestrian ramp project. And here to present tonight is Staff Public Works Director, actually, is it Kevin? Do I have the correct one?
Maria DeAndre is expected. I haven't heard that. I know she was out inspecting the roads.
Okay. We'll delay this?
She's right there.
Oh, here she comes.
Okay, great. We will just give her a minute to walk in.
Thank you.
Keep coming forward.
You're up, Maria. Thank you.
Thank you, Director DeAndre. Sorry, hopefully you could take a breath. But yeah,
Timing.
go ahead. Would you like to just ask for questions first?
I will stand for any questions. I would like to introduce Mr. Tim House, who is our new Capital Projects and Engineering Manager.
Oh, great.
And he's
Welcome.
helped us through this process to get through the bidding, and will oversee the construction as well.
Thank you. Questions for Director DeAndre on this concrete project? Member Barentine?
Mostly, I did not know that we had a new person, so if you'd give us a little background on who helped you with this, I'd appreciate it, where he came from in that, so that we have a little more information.
Sure. I'll let Tim speak for himself.
Thank you.
I said, my name's Tim Host. I'm a civil engineer. I came from the city of Arvada. I was there about 19 years, and I was a project manager for a lot of street maintenance type projects and a lot of utility projects, so I did a lot of different things there, and I'm happy to be here to help get the same type of projects going, especially the street maintenance and the stormwater and the flooding problems there. I think I can help with, and we're going to look at that and try to make some decisions there and help to move that forward as well. So I'm glad to be here to help you solve a lot of these issues and get this work done.
When did you start?
About 7 weeks, it's my 8th week, so about 7 weeks.
Okay, so you were you helped to.
Yeah, we had our construction managers help put the specs together. I kind of oversaw it there. It was pretty well underway when I started, but I kind of helped him finalize it and get the bids and everything, and we ended up getting some pretty good bids and ready to get started, so.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Mayor Pro Tem Russell has questions?
Yes, the question that was the Girard Avenue sidewalk unforeseen? I mean, before we approved the budget?
Yeah, because we talked about that in January. When we came back, we had brought the pavement management and the concrete utility programs just to talk about them in general at a high level. And one of the elements that we compiled as a part of the concrete utility was how many missing segments of sidewalk are there within the city, and we've got roughly 6 miles. And so at that time, we talked about, based on our conversations with Craig Hospital primarily, was the idea of starting to construct some of these sidewalks to widen them out to meet ADA for handicapped individuals. And so this was one of the first projects that we recommended. So we talked about it that night.
Okay, so are any of the other handicap ramps also going to be impacted? Do they need to be wider in the area that we were already planning to work on?
Yes, if you look at the map, the one that's kind of got the blue background on it, you can see along Girard, we have a significant number of those ramps that will be updated with the little black dots.
Okay, thank you.
Member Cuesta?
Thank you. So this work is all in Area 1 of the attached map. That work is going to be done sequentially. Is that right? After Area 1 gets complete, then it goes to 2, 3, 4, and so on?
Correct, and that it coincides with our pavement maintenance. So we'll be bringing to you on July 15th the pavement maintenance work, primarily mill and overlay, that will occur in segment or Zone 1 as well. And then next year would be Zone 2.
Thank you. I was going to ask if any was going to be done concurrently. Annually, one each zone will be serviced?
Correct.
Very good. Thank you.
Member Barentine?
So are there any sections of this, because when it comes to me, I don't get the color portion of it. Are there any sections of this where there is not currently sidewalk?
Within Zone 1?
That you're doing this for? Is there anything with this project where you're putting in a sidewalk where it doesn't exist currently?
No, we're just, and on Girard Avenue, we're just widening out. And the other elements of the project, we're just removing and replacing.
And doing redoing the wheelchair ramp?
Pedestrian ramps, correct.
Okay. And when you increase the size of the sidewalk, does that in any way affect the amount of money that is contributed in for that fund?
No, because it's based on the width of the property, not the square footage of sidewalk.
Okay, so...
So it's just the frontage. If you have a 50-foot lot, it's based on 50 feet.
And do you know the last time that they were done over there?
You know, previous years, it's been all across the city. So they've compiled the list more just based on requests as well as just kind of the highest need. So this is the first year that we've kind of gone by zones, similar to the pavement.
So it's not as much that the sidewalks fail, but the size of the sidewalk and the area that it's in because of the hospital?
Correct.
Okay.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem.
So we're dividing up by zones now, but what happens when people call and complain about sidewalk areas that are dangerous?
Yes, thank you for that. So we do have a program to grind those sidewalks. We're getting that under contract right now. It's roughly going to be about $30,000 where we can go out and address those trip hazards anywhere across the city. So the idea with the concrete utility is that we remove and replace to get everything level. But the trip hazards, so we eliminate those, we would just grind down that edge sort of as a temporary measure until we can get around to that particular zone.
Okay, thank you.
So the information that you just gave us, you gave us a month or two ago with this whole plan. I'm wondering if we ought to, is that on the website so that people can see? It is. Okay, so.
It was actually in January.
Oh, it was
we came
that
to a
long
study
ago.
session.
Seems like only yesterday. Okay.
January 22nd.
But it is on the website so people can see that and can know that, you know, just because there's this zone thing, things can come up and you can call and there will be some action possibly given a certain criteria, I'm sure.
Absolutely, and those criteria are listed in the program document from January 22nd.
Great, thank you. Good reminder to all of us too. Member Barentine.
The criteria for?
If we're replacing a segment or what that trip hazard might be, I believe it's like an inch. So if it's an inch or greater, then we would go out and grind it down. If it's less than that, we would monitor it to see if it increases.
Do you have anything in the protocol for your process on the traffic or how it's used? Something downtown where you get more foot traffic, more pedestrian, an inch would be more liability to us than maybe if it was in a neighborhood. Do you have other criteria that you use for this process?
No, it's not based on location at all, just simply that depth of that differential.
Okay. Yeah, that might be something we just want to consider as we're doing that piece of it.
Certainly, I think that's a great
Also, by
idea.
complaint is just a concern as well, that I don't want to encourage people that if they just complain a lot, that it's just the only criteria we're using because we have limited resources. So how we're doing a hierarchy of this piece of it. But thanks for sharing what you did.
And I'm sorry to clarify, Mayor Pro Tem, so if somebody complained, it wouldn't be that it would still have to meet that 1-inch criteria for us to grind it. So we
Right,
would go
but
out and evaluate
nothing else, but nothing necessarily else. So I just want to see if we could get a, thank you.
Thank you. There were some neighbors in our district that had more than an inch, but this was maybe 5-6 years ago, and we were coming through, the city was coming through and doing stuff. So it seems like we've lowered the amount. That is the criteria that would trip it. I mean, didn't mean that.
We're trying. Last year, our program, I believe, was around $800,000 that we expended, and the year before that was $400,000. So we are increasing the amount of money that we're putting towards this program, and the way that's, because it's not all just concrete utility, we're also drawing from other funds, like the concrete program as well as road and bridge, to upgrade a lot of those ramps.
Great. Could I have a motion to approve?
I'm sorry, I just have one more question.
Member Barentine?
The last one that I dealt with on Broadway in my district was, somebody came out, they corrected it. And then the correction had more than an inch of a space, had to be redone. Who goes out and inspects those? Who's following up on our vendors that are doing these projects?
Yeah, so we do invoke a 1-year warranty. So our inspector staff from the engineering division does go out, they inspect while the work is being done, that initial, when it's removed and replaced. Then they follow up just prior to that 1-year warranty period to determine if there's any items that do not meet our criteria. If it's beyond the 1 year, then we're not doing anything. We're not going back and looking at those. So they would have to come up on the list again.
This was within a month, so I was just wondering who follows up immediately after they do the work to make sure we're getting our bang for our buck and our money's worth out of the job they're doing.
Yeah, that's our inspection staff who is with them pretty much every day.
All right.
Thank you. Could I have a motion to approve 11C1?
I move to approve 11C1.
Could I have a second?
I second.
All right. Member Sierra seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please vote.
All votes have been cast. Let the record show 6 ayes.
Thank you. Next up is Agenda Item 7.2, consideration of 2019 budget supplemental appropriation request for the Girard Avenue Sidewalk Construction Project. And here again is Director Maria DeAndrea, who is recommending the approval of the attached resolution, which appropriates funds in the amount of $190,322.83 from the Public Improvement Fund, an unappropriated fund balance, to the Road and Bridge Fund for the construction of a 4-foot wide sidewalk on the north side of Girard from the alley west of Emerson Street to Downing Street, as well as portions along the south side of Girard Avenue in the same length. Questions for Mayor Pro Tem starts out?
So if we don't spend all the contingency fund, will that go back, even though it's been appropriated?
That is correct. So if the 190,000 contains a contingency, and so if we don't spend that, it will go back into the Public Improvement Fund, not where it was transferred to. We will make sure that occurs.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions? Seeing none, could I get a motion to approve 11C2?
I move to approve 11C2.
Can I have a second?
I second.
Thank you, Mr. Sarah. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please vote.
All votes have been cast. Let the record show 6 ayes.
Thank you. 11C2 is a contract approval for Civic Center roof replacement project, finally. Staff recommends that the City Council award a contract by resolution to Garland DBS Incorporated in the amount of $1,555,940 with the allowance for a 10% contingency of $155,590 if needed for the roof replacement. And here again is Ms. Maria DeAndrea, our Public Works Director.
Yes, Mayor, I'll stand for any questions.
Thank you. Questions? Mayor Pro Tem.
My question is, I think it's on page 70 of 73, the letter determining, increasing the length. It says, "Dear Frank, please accept this letter as confirmation of Cobb County government's intent to extend the current U.S. Communities contract for roofing supplies and services, waterproofing and related products, and services for an additional one-year period. The effective date of the contract extension will commence on January 1st, 2018, and end on December 31st, 2018. All products and services provided under this contract will continue to be in accordance with pricing, terms and conditions set forth in the bid number, and any subsequent amendments." It looks to me like it hasn't been extended beyond 2018.
It has. So if you go back 2 pages, so let me see here, let me find the right date, the right page number. So it was extended through 2019.
Point of clarification, Councilmember, Mayor Pro Tem, could you give us the page number you were on?
Well, on the paper packet, there is no page number. But in the electronic packet, it was page 70 of 73.
So the extension letter, I do not see it in my packet, but we did receive confirmation from them that it extends through December 31st of 2019. We did get, so similar to on page, it would be 71 where it says date of amendment. We do have a letter that extends that through December 31st of 2019 from the Cobb County Board of Commissioners. So it looks very similar to that.
The problem is, I don't even think that's in the electronic packet.
Mayor Pro Tem, could I please see your packet, or at least show me on mine?
The first letter, I thought it was a typo. And so you're saying that you actually went back and asked?
We did.
Okay.
So it may not have gotten in the packet, because it looks like I put in the one that extends it through December 31st in twice.
Okay. Thank you. Other questions from others while we're looking?
I know I can produce that document, though.
Okay. Do you have any further questions, Mayor Pro Tem?
I do not.
All right. We have a motion to approve 11C3, contract approval for Civic Center roof replacement project.
I move to approve 11C3, contract approval for Civic Center roof replacement.
I'll second that motion.
All right. Further discussion? Member Barentine?
You said that there is another letter that would correct this, so that there is an extension to this?
Correct.
But it isn't included in what we're...
No, it doesn't look like it got either in your packet or the electronic packet, because I just printed out the electronic packet. I can provide that tomorrow to council.
I want to ask the Mayor Pro Tem, I appreciate you catching that. What is the concern that can create with that not being in this document that you were concerned about?
My concern is that if the contract extension has not been added, then we wouldn't use them. We would have to put it out for bid.
So we would be voting on an expired contract?
If it's not correct. I mean, the paperwork that we have shows that there is not that extension.
I do have a concern at any time voting for something that would be counterproductive if we don't have it within the packet that within the contract that we're approving and voting on now. I know that you say you can produce it, but maybe we can, is there any time limit for this that we can't? It is a dangerous thing for us to approve something and then find out later that maybe we approved something that wasn't included here. We are voting on this.
Certainly. Yes, the intent, the contractor that we're using is scheduling up throughout the summer. They've already got their school jobs lined up, so we are anxious to get them scheduled for the fall, but we could bring this back on July 15th with that correct document.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Actually, Councilmember Barentine asked the question that I was going to ask. Is it possible that we can just table this and bring it back on July 15th?
Yes.
That's fine, except I believe you, and I'm wondering if you can run upstairs and get the copy of it in the time that we would get on to other items and come back. I don't have any trouble. I believe you that you have it. I believe that you can produce it, and I hate to wait another, I mean, I don't know if the rest of you would like to continue on this. You want to table it. Perhaps the others can weigh in. Member Wink?
I would like to continue. I don't see the reason to table it if our director has the documentation.
Member Sierra?
If we could get the documentation within the next 5 minutes, maybe we should call a recess and vote on it tonight.
Member Cuesta?
I don't really want to spend $2 million on a roof either way, but I think we're going to have to make a decision on that. So if the document can be produced, we should have it for the record, I believe. I think that'd be helpful, and then we can all go forward knowing that it's there. Thank you.
All right. Member Barentine?
I am concerned always when we couch this in a matter of trust, or what we believe or have faith in you or not. I have an obligation to vote on what's present here. It is not a matter of trust or disbelief, and so I want you to know that from my heart. That's not what this is about. But this is historical. This is the document I vote on as an elected official, and I need to make sure that what I'm voting on is accurate. So I appreciate your understanding for that. I would not like to set a precedent of sending people running around for documentation that we have not yet been able to purview in our packet, or that wasn't available to the public. But in this case, if you have the information, I would be more than happy to see it, and we can vote on it tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think we have enough people to ask to vote for it. Still tonight, if we, can you get it that easily?
Yep.
Quickly?
I'll run right
Okay.
upstairs.
So in the meantime, maybe City Clerk, can we go on to the other items, or do we need to recess? Recess. All right, we're going to take a 5-minute recess while you do too. Council will be back here in 5 minutes, or as soon as you see Director DeAndrea walk in the door.
Just have it running tonight, don't we?
What?
We just have it running tonight, don't we?
We do. doesn't change regardless. Yes, thank you. Council, if you could all be seated, looks like we have what we need. Oh, I see we have two out. One, maybe Mr. Cuesta. I like that sweater.
Oh, thank you.
Really nice colors on you.
Thank you.
Sorry, it looks like we're missing one member.
Mayor Pro Tem, is the light coming on or not?
No, it's not.
Squash those rumors.
See, coming back through. There it is. All right. Thank you. We're reopening the meeting, and Director DeAndrea is here and has put on our desks a picture of, or a copy of the contract amendment dated April 24th, 2018, with the extension to December 31st, 2019. Yes. Thank you. Any further questions for her? Mayor Pro Tem.
I just want to thank you for going up to get that. So.
It's the second time I ran down the stairs. And I will work with the city clerk to make sure that's a part of the packet, of the permanent packet, that document.
Thank you.
Member Berentine.
That's all I wanted to make sure that this now is included, since it wasn't that as we're voting on this that we're making with the understanding that we've got this now included as part of the packet.
Member Cuesta.
Thank you, and I hope I'm not digressing too much here. On the solar panel removal and reinstall, it's coming in, it's quoted 100,000. Those are functional solar panels right now?
They are. We're on a 20-year lease with a company called Amoresco that has a guaranteed reimbursement plan for the energy savings that we get from that. So we do pay a penalty if we were to remove them and not replace them. So we do want to reinstall.
Understood. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Member Berentine.
His question, do we reinstall the same material? Because it was my understanding from the previous city manager that they were defective, that they were part of the problem, that they caused damage to the roof.
It wasn't the solar panels, it was the way that they were installed, because it was an after fact. So the roof has been designed by the engineers to now account for how we're going to fasten those solar panels, the plates, or the feet, if you will, back onto the new roof.
It was my understanding that Amoresco went ahead and installed those at the time that they went in, so wouldn't they be responsible? Are they in any way reimbursing us for any of the potential damage that was done to the roof? That, at least, I'm going off of the information from City Manager Keck when he gave several presentations on this.
Sure. We did a city manager or a council update, I think early January or February, that talked about this. So it was my understanding per our facilities manager that Amoresco, they did identify that issue where it was penetrated through the roof, and they put in some sort of plates or something to alleviate that situation at the time.
Did? Yeah, Amoresco did.
I can resurrect that council update for you.
If you could, I'd appreciate that. Maybe if we could put a little bit of a dollar amount in what they, I'd appreciate that. Thank you for that question, Councilmember Quest. I appreciate it. You reminded me.
Thank you. Any further comments? We need to have a motion.
I move to approve.
We did.
11.
We did.
Oh, we did?
We did,
Okay.
yes, sorry. And I think we're ready to vote. Please vote.
All votes been cast. Let the record show 6 ayes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, and really appreciate the little sprint you did on our behalf. So, and next is a general discussion. Mayor's choice. Actually, the first thing up is the agenda setting. We normally set our agenda or our timing for the special meeting for the public hearings here in the dais, and that was what I expected, and it was just, I think, a miscommunication within the city's offices of trying to help us figure out when that should be. So to start this one off, I'd like to ask our interim city manager, there's a time frame that we have to stay within given the passing of something by planning and zoning, that it then has to come before us within a certain time frame with the developer. What is that time frame?
I may refer to the city attorney, but I think it's after the public hearing that the time starts to tick in, and it's 45 days after the public hearing. Am I correct?
Yes, it's actually kind of vague, and that's why I went ahead and sent that out. It's kind of vague. It implies that as soon as the Planning and Zoning Commission have made a recommendation to council, that it directs at that point planning and zoning staff to get that put on an agenda. So it doesn't say it has to be 5 days or 15 days. It just says once that recommendation is made, planning and zoning shall put that on a city council agenda.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to clarify that, especially for the public, so they know what we're trying to do here. So it looked to me like what was being asked for was maybe a first week, that full week of August would be a good timing, so that Monday night would probably be our first preference. Is that correct, City Manager?
Correct. Staff informed me that they would not be ready before the first week of August, but any time after that would be perfect.
Okay, so not the 5th.
Well, no, the 5th would be fine.
Okay, great.
But not before that.
Right, I mean, the first full week. Okay, great. So August 5th would be the time when we'd look at it. Member Barentine.
I saw that it was on the agenda on Thursday, and I sent everyone an email regarding setting this as a special meeting. And I believe it was a little bit misinterpreted by the city attorney. I never said that we didn't have the authority to do that. What I was questioning was that because there has been some additional issues come up about this from the community meeting, and now people hearing what's being presented to planning and zoning, that it would not be a good idea for it to be part of a special meeting. So I apologize to the city attorney if I didn't make that clear. I wasn't misunderstanding our authority, but whether that was a wise decision to take something that's a controversial issue, could potentially become a controversial issue, and move it outside of a regular meeting date for the public's sake.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Does this have to occur that week of August 5th?
No.
So we could do it the middle of August also, or?
It's up to council to make that decision, yes.
It would be within the 45 days is what you're saying?
No.
If that's what we were sort of regulating, even though.
I don't think the 45 days kicks in until after the public hearing.
After our public hearing.
After your public hearing.
I thought there was a clear timeline between the time planning and zoning and the time it comes to us, that the developers had a right to that. I'm not sure. I must be wrong.
Yeah, like I said, it's vague. What it states is as soon as planning and zoning has made a recommendation to the city council, the planning staff shall place it on an agenda. Okay. But it doesn't say 5 days or 15 days or 30 days.
Okay. Well, would it be better for city staff to do it on, what is the third Monday?
The
19th. 19th? Would that be a problem?
No, I mean, they'll be ready on the 5th, but if you want to postpone it till the 19th, that's fine.
All right, so we could do it on the 5th or the 19th. Council, what is your preference on this? Pros and cons? Mayor Pro Tem?
I would like to do it on the 19th, mainly because we have a new city manager coming on board on the 5th, and I think that, we have some other things too on the agenda, and we wanted to have a little celebration.
It's true. Member Bernstein?
I would agree. Having a public hearing the first night that we've got a new city manager probably wouldn't be the best idea, and probably would like to make sure that he's part of this process as well, since they've done quite a bit of development and he's got that experience. And I would also like a little bit of extra time because there were some issues that I didn't think were going to come up that have been brought to my attention, so I have to listen to the planning and zoning meetings at this point. And my bringing anything up would just be anecdotal, and I don't like to do that. So that would give us a little extra time.
Thank you. Are there other comments on this? Do you care one way or the other? Member Sierra?
Oh, I guess I was going to ask, do we happen to know what the agenda looks like on the 5th and the 19th?
No.
No.
No. So I would prefer that we put it on the 5th and see what happens and move it if we need to, but so that if we have a full meeting, we have said that if a meeting looked like it was too full, we would call a special meeting. That's what we've said in the past, but we haven't ever done it.
And that's my concern is that we talked about that because we didn't want the meetings to go on.
Right.
And have things come to vote that the citizens aren't able to stay up and watch, so.
Right. Mayor Pro Tem, however, made a really good point, which might be the reason not to do it on the 5th, is we've decided to have a little break in the middle and welcome the city manager and have all of the public wants to come out to meet him and just go to the next door room like we've done in the past when we've greeted new people. So maybe that makes it a crazy night to do this anyway. Mayor Pro Tem?
And I think there's another thing that we can do this far out. We can, since we know we would be having a public hearing that night, we could make certain that we don't overload the agenda by encouraging staff to wait on things, either get them in before or wait till the following council meeting.
Member Quester or Member Wink, do you want to weigh in?
I would prefer the 19th. I think it should just get too packed on the 5th. And for the new city manager, that's a heck of a night to start out on.
Member Wink?
I almost don't mind either way, but yeah, I think given, a public hearing already lengthens the meeting significantly enough, so it almost seems to me the 19th just makes more logistical sense.
All right. Member Sierra?
I was going to say the 19th would probably be preferable, but just keep in mind, August, we are in the middle of budget talks. So
Of what?
we may want to consider just having
Budgets.
another night to do that, to do the PUD. But I would, out of the 2 dates, I would rather do the 19th.
I apologize,
you.
Councilmember Questa, could you please repeat what you said? I didn't hear it.
Are you asking Member Sierra?
Oh, see, I'm so sorry.
It's all right, I do them.
No, it's just, within August, we're in the middle of budget talks. There's going to be a lot of
budget,
discussions
budget. I
around
didn't
that,
hear it.
and
Thank you.
I'm concerned that
You didn't hear me either.
There shouldn't be anything that night on the regular meeting for budgets, but let's go with the 19th. I think we have it. We don't have to take a vote for that, do we? We just, yeah. Okay, great. We're going to be on the 19th.
Okay.
All right. Councilmember's choice. Let's start to my right, and then we'll go to my left. So Mayor Pro Tem, you can begin.
Other than the flood issue, I don't think I have anything right now, and I did not say, I pulled that out, and I am hoping that Calibre will bring forward some suggestions, and that we do have a good, robust discussion on July 8th. So, thank you, that's all I have.
Thank you. Member Sierra.
I guess I'll start off, I guess more of a question for the city manager. I'm not sure if this actually takes a council request or not, but kind of curious if our staff has been trained on phishing attempts, cyber attacks, and that type of thing. I've just been reading about certain cyber attacks happening in Florida and across the world where hackers are demanding ransoms and holding basically the city's data hostage. And so I'm kind of curious, they've been, a lot of cities, just because they can't get to the data, are actually giving into the ransom demands of the cyber attackers. And just kind of curious if we've done any training in terms of just not clicking on emails that they don't recognize, which is really hard to do when you work in a city, but what kind of steps have we taken, or has any training occurred?
Thank you, and I'd be happy to follow up with our IT director for more specifics, but I will say that they're very aware of it, and we've sent out lots of information to staff. They have also, the IT department, started what I think is a very clever approach, and sending out from our IT department innocuous-looking emails that really could have been phishing, so that if I were to click on it, I would get an email back from the IT department saying, aha, this is why you should not have clicked on this particular item, and, off we go. It causes no damage, but it's a wonderful learning opportunity. And we've been doing that for, I think, about a month. And so I think that's a very effective thing. Right. I will say that IT Director Margaret Brocklander is very concerned about cyber attacks and spending a lot of time and energy learning and trying to prevent that. But thank you for being aware of it, because it is a serious concern.
Thank you for that. And then also, I want to just thank Director Brennan for his time with the city. He announced his resignation last week, and he stepped up to the bat when the city manager Keck resigned last year, and everybody within the staff took on added duties, and I always appreciated Mr. Brennan coming up and speaking. And we're losing a lot of institutional knowledge, but I'm happy for him. I'm hoping that he's happy in his next career with the Colorado Department of Parks and Wildlife. So just thank him very much for everything that he's done for the city. So thank you, Mr. Brennan. That is all.
Thank you. Member Wink.
No report.
Member Barentine.
I sent out an email to everyone about what hit the news about the police officer, and was very dismayed that council had not been made apprised of that once it became public. I think this council needs to set some policy, especially since we just had a meeting where we had an awesome opportunity to have done that in an executive session. Had I not been in an event that night, I would have answered my phone. I answer my phone. I'm not going to try and skirt anything, and I would have ended up being waylaid by the news for something I had no information for something that the city was well aware of. Quite a few people in the city apparently were very well aware of for over a month, and this person had been arrested by that time on May 29th. That made it public, and for this council to not be apprised of what's going on, especially later, I found out the next day from constituents telling me that it involved yet another employee. It is our responsibility for any liability that could happen for the city, as the elected officials and in charge of the money and the liability that could happen to this community, that we are informed. And I don't think it's going to look very good for any of us to not know what's going on, especially if the news is calling us. So I was grateful that I had an event and did not answer that, but I would like to know whether we need to go into another executive session to get updated on all of what's going on with the city so that we don't have these kind of problems, or whether, now that it's out, whether it can just be discussed publicly, or if there are other issues that we're going to have. I don't know what I don't know, and obviously people in the room last Monday did know, and we didn't hear about it, and that's concerning to me.
Thank you. Are you finished?
Did that issue the city attorney? I could.
Is this a question that you're asking someone?
I'm giving an update here.
Okay, great.
So there are times when I feel like I'm saying the house is burning down, and I get everybody just staring at me, and we move on. We have a very...
Member Barentine, do you have a question for a staff person? Because this is council member update time, and I didn't hear it as a question. Would you like to ask a question directly of someone?
I'm not required to ask a question during my update time. I think that's a time for us to have discussion as well. But at this point, since you're requiring now that...
I am not requiring a question. Okay. You seem to be asking for some sort of response and upset that we haven't responded. I'm asking you, what would you like us to do? And if it's nothing, fine.
I'm asking a question. Mayor, are you concerned that this council doesn't know about issues like that when it is out in the public for weeks and being discussed by our staff with the press before it is discussed with this council? Are you concerned about that?
I don't believe the things that you're telling me right now are totally accurate, and so I'd rather have a conversation with all the facts first. I do not want to talk about personnel issues in the public at all.
Did you know about this issue prior to?
Absolutely not.
Thank you. Then I guess you answered my question. So could the city manager please advise the council on what the procedure is once something becomes public like that, how we are going to be notified so that we're not seeing the city discuss it in the press before apparently our mayor knows about it?
In this particular information...
Was CIRSA notified about this firing?
No.
Was there any attorneys that were...
Excuse me, I'd like to stop this conversation right now. We're talking about a personnel issue that is not something that should be talked about in the public right now.
It is in the public. We're
not our city attorney. would you like to give us any advice on, are we stepping on anything that we shouldn't be? And if we are, yes, and if we aren't, then...
Thank you for asking. I do advise that we don't discuss personnel matters in open session. I think, though, the question about, is this a legal action involving the city that the city attorney's office is involved in? No, it is not. Whether or not there was personnel action taken by the city manager or the city manager's directors, that would be something that should only be discussed in an executive session to discuss personnel. And we would need to jump through all of those hoops.
Right, and to that end, what I'm asking for is if the taxpayers are paying for any attorney that involves this issue, that's all. Thank you. And in the future, if this council could at least, we should need to put it on an agenda to, or study session for this council to discuss how we handle these issues so that we're not waylaid by information that the public is already aware of and we don't have any information on, so that we can at least know not to make it worse.
Thank you. Are you finished?
Yes, I am.
Thank you.
Just don't go a night without you interrupting things.
Oh, wow. Okay, Member Cuesta.
Thank you. The first one that I wanted to touch on was a response that we got for council member request, and it was regarding the public postings on variances, public hearings, and appeals. In my opinion, it's very limited right now. It needs to be posted on the city website, a city newspaper, and I think it's posted in the building as well. And all those certainly constitute legal postings. I just don't think the average citizen comes across those very often. You know, most folks aren't in this building. I live in the Englewood Herald. I don't think they have the highest circulation, though. And a lot of folks don't get to the website. And this is posted 10 days before the hearing. So the thought that folks within these neighborhoods and the immediate blocks would see them strictly through that avenue, I think is misguided. I just don't think that's the case. I would like to see that expanded. We also got the public posting for a liquor license. For instance, that requires a sign in a conspicuous area on the property. I think that would be more suitable for just at least informing the neighbors. This to me isn't even pro or anti-development. It's let's inform the neighborhood that there's going to be a development. If the neighborhood opposes it, so be it. If the neighborhood supports it, so be it. But I don't think the neighbors are getting fair acknowledgement now when those are taking place. I think there was a request to move this to a study session. I'd certainly care to, because now that I'm reading the rules, I don't think the citizens are getting proper notification on these. That was the first one. I would certainly put that before the council if they would care to consider that in a study session. The second one was Mayor Pro Tem Rushlow. I thought that what you said was quite audacious in your remarks to your reply to the citizens. I certainly realize that it's quite emotional when you go over and visit that area, but you're certainly not the only one who goes over and visits that area. I was there this afternoon too, and I don't think that gives me any higher authority than anybody else to speak to the issue. You also said, will it take somebody else to die? That is horrible. I don't think there's any council member up here that is waiting for somebody else to perish over there. It is not a simple issue. It costs way more money than we have. It's probably going to take a citizen's vote, which we're all going to have to agree on, and then it's going to have to pass the citizens. This is not a simple issue. We cannot snap our finger. Everybody up here cares. You've been up here nearly 4 years now, and just saying we need to do something isn't doing something. Technically it is, but it's not effective. And I thought that was very... again, audacious of you to make the implication that you're the only one who's over there and you're the only one who cares. I think everybody up here cares. I think everybody in this community cares. And you know, it's District 4, and I'm District 4 first. There's other parts of the city that flood too. District 1 has their issues. So I don't think this is a singular issue to District 4. We need to get the whole city cleaned up, and I think everybody up here is concerned with that. And it's not as simple as just saying, I was over there today and we need to do something. I couldn't agree more that we need to. I was over there today too, and we need to do something. That doesn't solve the problem. It's much more complex than that, and I think you greatly oversimplified it and implied the council members up here do not care. And it's just not true. And I don't want to leave you with me having the final word. I'd be happy to hear a response, and that's up to the mayor to acknowledge it, but I'd be happy to hear any reply you have on that.
Are you finished then?
Thank you.
Thank you. I was going to ask you if you would mind if Mayor Pro Tem could respond, and Mayor Pro Tem, go ahead.
And I apologize. I never meant for it to come across that way. I did not mean it that way. I do not believe that you aren't doing anything or other council members, and I was not the one. I was just relaying what one of the citizens said to me. I was not the one that said this council is going to be sorry when somebody else dies. That is what another citizen said to me. And You know, it's very emotional when you're out there, and I understand that. I know that you have been out there. It was not pointed at anyone. I am telling you, they are upset, and I'm not defending myself. I apologize that I was not able to communicate accurately, and so I'm not pointing fingers at anyone.
Thank you. I do have several things tonight, too. On that note, thank you for your apology, Mayor Pro Tem, because it's been more than once that I think we've sat up here and heard the comments made that this council needs to do something, and I think we are, and I think it's a hard, long road, and that's what's very frustrating. I do not want to sit up here and pass judgment on any one person, as our citizens do, about whether one of us cares more than another. Citizens are angry, and they've been hurt, not only physically, emotionally, so I give them that. But for any of us to hold each other in hostage as if we're one of us caring more than another is just not right. So I appreciate that we're going to move forward on this, and that we're going to find out a way to move forward. And next week, I'm really hoping that we make some tough decisions and start moving forward. I also wanted to thank Mr. Brennan for his work here. I think he's done some really tough things and had to deal with a lot of hard things that are not easy, and I appreciate the work, and I'm really looking forward to hearing how this new job that sounds like so much fun for him comes into play. Last week was a busy week. I just wanted to update you on a couple of things, because sometimes we don't have enough time for me to do that, but I do want to let you know what I've been up to. Changed the Trend Wednesday night had a police forum, and I mentioned it to you all a few weeks ago. I was really thankful to see Mayor Pro Tem come. It was an update from the police on the entire work done on the Platte and some of the issues that are involved there, and it would really be wonderful to have the PowerPoint or some kind of summary of that Reed McGrath did. It was well done, and a number of people spoke. It was a packed room, standing room. People care about this, really want to be helpful. I think it's really important for us as a public policy making group to really be informed and understand what we need to be doing next. So that was a great time. Then the Sounds of Summer was on Thursday night. I think you all know those are going on. It was really an amazing, it was the 101st Army Rock and Country Band. It was really hot, but a lot of people still came. So I encourage you to keep going. July 11th is another one, and July 18th. And there are a number of kids' stages and other kinds of topic things going on. So if you haven't seen this little flyer, it's got great stuff on it. And then on Friday morning, and I'm going to hand out these. This is an annual open spaces report that we got at Arapahoe County every year does a celebration with all of the city mayors and managers and parks and rec folks to thank people and to sort of celebrate the money that's gone into things. And this last year, we received $293,700 for Jason Park from them, and so this gives you a little update of the whole thing. Then July 4th, we have a little event going on, right? And so I'm not sure whether, in the past, I think, I have not been here, but council members have been allowed to have a parking pass, and I don't know if council members want one this year or not, but perhaps email you, interim city manager, if they want one. Otherwise, we'll park in Rick Gillette's driveway.
I wouldn't suggest that.
Let's see. I think that's it. Thank you, and interim city manager.
Could I just ask for the parking pass, because I was looking how we were going to get that and that it wasn't in our packet. How would you prefer to get that to us?
We could, before the 4th, just deliver it to you. I mean, that would be the easiest thing for you.
Yeah.
Or the Mayor Pro Tem delivery service.
So I'm sure, yes. Why don't we figure out tomorrow morning, send out an email, and can it be printed off by chance in a PDF?
Oh, sure.
Can we just print it off at home? And those of you that needed hard copy, maybe we can find a way to get it to you, but just one page would be great.
I'm sure we'll figure something out.
Just know that you can't send it to everybody and the mother, right? All right, thank you. Interim city manager, your report?
I'd like to give just a quick update on our response to today's extraordinary rain. I don't want this to be construed as a a thorough response, and I will try to get that to you in the next day or two. But our Utilities Director, Tom Brennan, and as you noticed, Public Works Director Maria DeAndrea immediately went out to the flooded areas. The part that seemed worst hit was the Oxford and Windermere. It was definitely underwater. There was a car that was submerged. The person got out safely. Denver Fire, Denver Police were on scene immediately, and there was no danger to life there, but traffic was a mess. Apparently, there was a small sinkhole on the south side of Oxford, but not in the street itself. Utilities Director Tom Brennan closed one lane of eastbound Oxford from Natchez to Santa Fe as a precaution, and they'll get that fixed. He wanted me to thank publicly RTD and the Sheridan Police, who were very helpful. CDOT was, even at the beginning of this meeting, out on scene restoring the traffic lights, which had been damaged by the water. It was draining, but draining slowly. As one of our citizens mentioned earlier, Rotolo Park, and I guess Mayor Pro Tem was there too, definitely filled up as it's designed to do, but it overflowed its banks and did the Southwest Greenbelt, but apparently it fairly quickly receded. So we're checking for any kind of damage there. Utilities and Public Works also went up to the Bannock and Acoma area. Maria DeAndrea said that they shoveled some gravel from the area around Bannock Street, just from the inlet and the alley, but at this point, they don't have any information that any structures were impacted or flooded. I will continue to give you more, but I wanted to thank all of the staff and the emergency responders who were on scene to make sure that traffic was under control and that it's as safe as it could possibly be. But I don't think there was any collapsing of pipes. It's just another big storm that tested our stormwater drainage system.
Member Barentine, I think, has a question.
I was working out at a client's at DTC, and so I wasn't able to get in fast enough. But I had people calling me and sending me pictures, concerned that there was nobody out there, that they had called 911, that they didn't know what to do, and that they were told, no, we don't do that. So there was a lot of delay in what looked like getting anybody out there. And I saw through the pictures people were sending me, vehicles going through there. And you're right. They don't know whether there's a sinkhole under there or not, whether they're going to disappear into the abyss. So they really shouldn't be trying to go through those. I know it can be tempting, but they were up past the doors on some of these, and I think they misjudged that. And I guess the concern, and people telling me, and I'm helpless there because I'm at work, why, if you could at least search, that might be anecdotal, how long it took people to get out there, because the concern from what they were giving me was, why isn't anybody here stopping people from doing this? Somebody's going to get hurt, or, something's going to happen. And they were showing me pictures. There's nobody there doing anything. So if we could just get some kind of information on how long it took for the street to get closed off, for people to be out there, so that we had some protection out there, I would appreciate that.
Certainly, those are the details I'd like to gather and share.
All right, thank you.
Member Cuesta.
The first question, did I hear you say Denver Police Department was out there as well?
No, Denver Fire.
Okay, I heard the Denver Fire, I thought I heard Denver Police too, thank you. The second one being, there was a fair amount of water that collected under the train tracks at Oxford.
Correct.
Between Santa Fe and Windermere. So you're saying there isn't an issue there? There was just so much water and it'll just drain on its own? There isn't any repair to be made there?
Correct. That's my understanding.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything further?
No.
Okay. City Attorney? Thank you. This meeting is adjourned.
All right.